Have you ever wished you could know what the future held before you got there? What if you were given the gift of knowledge before you even began your journey? Now, I've been thinking about that because I made a lot of stupid mistakes when I was younger. And I wish I had someone to say, don't go down that road, go down this one. I'm Sherri, and welcome to From the Eyes of Wisdom, where we are pairing an experienced elder from Christa Senior Living with a passionate King's High School student ready to launch into the world. And while these conversations won't tell the future exactly, they did reveal a lot we weren't expecting about how to live life well. Are you ready? I can't wait for you to hear this. Welcome to From the Eyes of Wisdom, another wonderful episode. Today, joining us, we have Madeline. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And then Therese. Is it Therese?
Yes.
Am I saying it right? Okay, Therese is here as well. You want to be a nurse, Therese.
Yes.
Okay. In the military, possibly. And then, Madeline, you were a nurse.
Yes.
In the military.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to have a ton of wisdom to give to Therese, and hopefully she won't walk away today like, oh, never mind. You're feeling empowered. You're going to get some wisdom. It's going to be great, okay? First, let me ask you, why nursing?
Just like the idea of like the whole helping people. And I've always wanted to be like in the military because I've seen my siblings in the military. And I just think nursing would just be the coolest way to be in the military.
Okay. And then, was it the coolest way to be in the military, Madeline?
It was.
Was it? So she's right with that.
She's very right. I spent 31 years at it. So
31 years.
I did enjoy it.
Okay. And so, why nursing for you?
Actually, I heard when I was quite young, I heard an ad that said that the Navy need nurses. And to me, it sounded like it said, Madeline, the Navy needs you to be a nurse so that you can join the Navy. So I became a nurse so I could join the Navy.
So it was an advertisement. It sounded like it was speaking directly to you.
That's right.
Nursing is God's work.
Yeah.
I cannot articulate the heart of a nurse. I don't understand it. I don't think it's celebrated enough. You've had to see so many things. You have to have seen a lot of pain and a lot of sickness and a lot of how do you do it every day? How do you say, okay, I'm okay to do it the next day?
I guess it's because you have the feeling that you're helping, and that because of you, they will they will go beyond that. And so you have hope that your helping is going to alleviate some of the pain or the discomfort, or at least help them live with it. You can't always get rid of what's there, but you can always help them to live with it and to accept it as, what God has given them,
right.
I guess.
Well, I love the word hope.
Yeah.
Did you have hope to say, okay, I can help someone get through the next day? Have you ever thought about that, Therese, where you're like, I'm going to see some stuff if I'm a nurse?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Have you ever shadowed anyone or seen anyone do nursing?
No, I have not.
Okay, so you just decided, like, I want to help people. You haven't seen anyone do it? Wasn't like, hey, I had an aunt that was a nurse, and then you just felt like this is something I wanted to do?
Well, one of my sister's friends, she's a nurse in the military, and, like, she's really close with my sister, and just seeing how, like, strong she is, it's just crazy. Like, she's like, yeah, my schedule just, like, it was like she had, like, all-night shifts, but she didn't seem, like, tired or anything, or she just wanted to keep doing it, and I thought that was just crazy.
Just her stamina and okay. All right, so, Madeline, tell me about you get your nursing degree first before you go into the military. Is that how it went?
I went through a 3-year nursing program.
Okay.
So I did not have a degree.
Okay.
After I graduated from nursing school, I worked for 2 years waiting for some friends who were going to join the Navy with me.
Okay. Did you have a specific area of nursing you wanted to go into?
I wanted to go into pediatrics.
Okay. And that's what you want, Therese, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I started working at the hospital, they also hired other people to work in pediatrics.
Okay.
The difference was that I graduated from that nursing school, and it was one of the first hospitals that had intensive care units in it, on west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
And so because I was trained in intensive care unit, every time they were short, I got moved to the intensive care unit. And that happened over and over again. And so I finally said, if you need me there, put me there. I will move there. And so I worked in the intensive care unit. It's very different than working in pediatrics. Pediatrics, you feel so sorry for the little kids.
Yeah.
You know, it hurts to give them shots and things like that, even though, they have to give it.
Yeah.
But in intensive care unit, you're really dealing with life and death a lot more every day.
It sounds like the first lesson was be flexible.
Yes.
You think you're going to be in pediatrics,
That's
but
right.
you're actually going to be over here in ICU. Yeah.
Yes.
What was like the first time you saw something that you were like, whoa?
Probably somebody being, it actually happened, I think, when I was a student, not when I was actually already a nurse.
Okay.
Somebody who was injured on a motorcycle. A policeman was injured on a motorcycle. On his motorcycle, he fell off of it, and the motorcycle sort of twisted around. And I couldn't believe that motorcycle could do that much damage.
Okay. To him.
To him.
And so you were a student? And so you were, what were you working in a hospital as a...
It's part of the training. You work in a hospital.
I mean, I don't want to cringe here. You don't
No.
you get sick to your stomach or like...
No. And what's really funny, I really don't like hospitals. I like to work in the hospital. I do not like to visit people in the hospital.
I was
There's a big difference. Visiting is one thing. Working in it is entirely different.
Okay.
I belong in it when I'm working.
Okay.
When I visit, I don't belong there.
Okay, I was going to say, because I think a hospital is pretty important in nursing, but I can't.
Yeah.
All right, so you're working in a hospital. You think you're going to do pediatrics, end up ICU, a lot of ICU work. You're waiting for your friends to join the Navy with you. How do you get to the Navy?
They all married Navy guys.
Okay. All right.
And I decided it was time for me to do it.
Okay.
So with 2 years after I graduated, I joined the Navy.
You joined the Navy, and then you went where?
Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay.
And I went there for the Navy. When you get a direct commission.
Okay.
Since I was already a nurse, I was commissioned as an ensign, and orientation for the Navy is in Newport.
Okay.
But I also I wanted to be as far away from Los Angeles as possible.
That was your home?
Los Angeles.
Los
yes.
Angeles was
so
your home.
I looked on the map and saw how far away I could get. And Newport sounded like a good place to go.
That's pretty far from LA.
But it wasn't as far as ways. I could have gone further.
Okay. Now, what are your feelings about leaving home?
I'm okay with it.
You are?
Mm-hmm. Like, I think traveling would be, like, super cool.
Okay. So you feel good about leaving, but you're not in a position where I got to get as far away from here as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wanted to see the world.
Okay.
I had never been to the East Coast. So
Okay.
This is at least that far.
You want to explore?
I wanted to explore.
Okay, so you feel that too?
Yes.
Okay,
It's a great place to go,
same.
by the way.
Okay, good. So you're in Newport. How long were you there?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, and what are you doing there? Like, what?
Well, let's see. I started off in intensive care unit again. But I also got to play in the nursery.
Okay.
So I got there. It's a small hospital, so you really sort of went to more than just one area.
Okay.
You worked in more than one area. Even though primarily I worked in the intensive care unit, which is also what was also the recovery room, but I also rotated into the nursery, which I loved working in.
What's happening in intensive care there? Like, because this is a Navy base, right? So, are these people who are just having general health issues, or I mean, it's not combat, so
Heart attacks, meningitis, it's infection like meningitis.
yeah. Like a normal hospital.
Normal hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, people coming in from as I said, it was recovery rooms. So people who've had surgery, I would take care of them. We've occasionally had some strange things. Like one time, a group of sailors got locked in a compartment that they were painting, and they wound up by being intoxicated from the paint. Over intoxicated. In fact, they were unconscious when they finally found them.
From the paint?
From the paint. It's toxic. The paint is toxic. And they were in enclosed units. And so I got all of these fellows into the intensive care unit. By this time, they had gotten air and oxygen. So So they were now awake, but they were pretty drunk
But
off of the fumes. And they were covered in gray paint.
so you had a group of guys that had painted themselves gray because they were intoxicated from paint.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing in the Navy.
That was one of the things. That was one of the funniest things I've done in the Navy.
Okay, so that's Newport. You're there for, did you say 2 years?
2 years.
And then where do you go?
I went to Japan.
When you get the orders to go to Japan, are you like, what? Or are you like, yeah?
No, I planned on it.
You planned on
I
it.
planned on it. I joined the Navy. I was going to go somewhere.
Okay.
And
so
I loved it.
You loved it? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're exploring. Does anything, Therese, do you have any questions about exploring? Because this sounds like Madeline's an explorer at heart. Yeah. You're okay, like getting out there. There's no fear. Like you just want to do it, want to see it, want to check it out, whatever it is. Any questions about that?
Did you ever think of like, because like I've heard of like nurses like in planes, like for the Air Force. Did you ever think of doing that, like being a traveling nurse?
Wasn't your thing?
No.
No.
I just wasn't. That was not my plan of things to do. It became much more when the Air Force became part of the military. They had like flight nurses, and most flight nurses were Air Force. There are now flight nurses. The Navy has flight nurses also now, but not a lot because usually they just give it to them, Air Force, to take care of that type of thing. But because of some of the duty stations that we have, if somebody has to be evacuated, they need a nurse to go with them. So they now have, in those particular places, there may be a flight nurse there.
Okay.
So yes, you can become, they do have Navy nurses who are flight nurses also.
Is that something you think you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
Really? Now, if I'm understanding it, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in that position, that's more of a closer combat kind of scenario, or no?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Where are you flying them from?
Overseas, or from one location to another.
Okay.
Like we have a lot of bases in, Europe, in Asia, and they need to come back to the U.S. for
I
care.
see.
And so they put them on transport.
Okay. And you need a nurse there.
They need a nurse.
All right. So you're in Japan, and you're there how long?
20 months.
20 months. Okay. And you're just working in ICU?
I worked in the nursery.
Did you finally got your pediatrics?
I worked in the nursery.
All right.
Yes.
So playing with the kids, and wait a minute, is this where there was a fire?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I remember. Tell me that story. I just
the fire wasn't at the hospital.
Okay.
It was behind there was a theater behind the hospital, and the theater caught on fire, and it's right behind the hospital. It was near the operating room where they store all of their oxygen.
Okay.
So they decided to evacuate a good percentage of the hospital, including the nursery. And so I had to get all of the babies out.
And
most of them, a large percentage of the babies went with their mothers.
okay.
There were some infants who were without their mothers, and many of the nurses who were off duty came down to see if I needed help. And so I gave them all a baby and sent them over to some housing area that was right across from me. And then I took the one baby that was on oxygen in an incubator. We were the last three, with one of the corpsmen. The three of us left at the same time.
I just I have to say, I'm amazed, and I'm going to ask you, Therese, about this. I'm amazed at the ease with which you tell that story. I'm guessing, just because of your job, you're not a panicky person. Like, the thing has to get done, we'll do the thing, right? I guess that's part of the temperament needed for nursing. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have that kind of temperament where it's not anxious or panicky?
I don't know. Sometimes I get a little panicked.
How would you describe your temperament, or the way you like? Are you a person that'll panic easy, or you're like calm, or how would you describe your own temperament?
I feel like I'm calm, but then like some things like do stress me out a little bit.
Okay.
But like my anatomy teacher was saying that like one of her students, well, she became a doctor, but like while they were watching the movie, like she like fainted like because she saw blood.
Okay.
But like later she became a doctor, so she said like you kind of just have to get used to it a little bit.
Okay.
So I don't know. Hopefully
So
that happens to me.
I guess it's like not like in hospitals, but being a nurse in it. It's two different things, you know. Some people don't like blood, but they can do it is normally, but they can deal with it in their job.
Okay.
It's part of their job, not in their life.
Okay, so you can watch the anatomy thing and be like, oh my God, blood, and pass out. But then if you have to draw blood, it's like, oh, well, it's my job, so whatever. I'm thinking of myself, not that I'm a panicky person, but if someone's like, there's a fire behind us, the oxygen's here, we got to get the babies out. I would never tell the story like, okay, well, let's get the babies and then say. So that's just, I think that's a nursing thing. Every nurse I know has that kind of calm demeanor of let's do the next thing. And I'm just guessing that, would be a piece of wisdom that you would give her. Am I right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
And I guess it's something that you sort of grow into.
You develop it.
You develop it as as part of the nursing education type of thing, and how you deal with unexpected events. Because there are always unexpected events.
Okay, 20 months in Japan. That's done. You were working in pediatrics. That's what you wanted to do, right? And then what happens after that? Because you're still in the Navy at this point.
I applied for school to go and get my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
So I requested to come to the University of Washington
Oh, okay.
to get my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
And so I came to Seattle.
Okay.
And went to school at the University of Washington.
Great. All right. And so you do that. And then when that's done, do you travel somewhere else?
I went to Oakland, the Naval Hospital in Oakland, California.
Okay. And then what were you doing there?
I worked in the operating room.
Wow. So you really are just open to what's the thing that's coming in front of me now?
Yeah, even though I had worked as a student, like during the summer, I worked in an operating room. So I was used to working in an operating room, and I enjoyed it.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it more than pediatrics? No. Pediatrics was still your love.
I still loved pediatrics.
Still loved pediatrics.
And I loved working in the nursery.
Okay. So what did you love about the operating room? It's a lot of blood, Madeline.
There's a lot of blood.
It's a lot of blood.
There's
Therese.
a lot of blood.
It's a lot.
Not always, though. Not really.
No?
Not really. No, they have lots of things to stop people from bleeding. Don't forget. They cauterize. You know,
I went
stop
to
the bleeding.
I went to a medical missions hospital to do some, just some, they come see the missions that we do. And they're like, would you like to see one of the operating go into the and I was like, no. And they're like, are you sure we could show you how we do the, and I'm like, no, I really, really desperately do not want to see that. Like, because I just thought it would just be blood and.
No, it's not really. They don't allow people to just bleed out.
That's going to be the title of the podcast. They don't allow people to just bleed out.
Yeah.
All right, so
they control the bleeding.
So you're in the OR.
Yes.
And how long did you work in the OR?
Only a year.
Okay.
Then I went to Los Angeles. Where I was in recruiting.
Okay, recruiting. So now you're not practicing, so to speak.
Nursing.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a nurse recruiter.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is exciting. All right, Therese is here. She's ready to be a nurse for the Navy. What are you looking for as a recruiter?
Well, let's see, somebody who's interested, of course, in serving their country as well as humanity.
Okay.
What
kind of questions would you ask her?
I'd be interested in what you're doing as far as your preparations going to nursing, because you're going to go to nursing school. You're still in school. What type of programs you've taken so that you're ready to go into the nursing program. What are some of your interests as far as, are you wanting to be, like you said, you want to be a flight nurse? I can tell you, probably you would not get flight nursing in the Navy if you want to do that. You probably go to the Air Force as opposed to the Navy.
Okay. What if she says, no, I want to be in the Navy? Then you'd say, well, what are some of your interests, right?
Yeah.
And then what would you say?
Well, I don't know. I've always thought of being in the Air Force.
Okay. Oh, Air Force. Okay. All right. So she's like, goodbye, and she walks out and slams the door.
That's not what I meant. It's like my whole
That's
family
okay.
is all in the Air Force.
Okay, so she'd want to be like a flight nurse.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So you still same kind of interview.
Same
Same kind of
thing.
concept.
Yeah, but, one as said, have you taken sciences and those types of things? Because you really do need sciences to go into the nursing programs these days. Probably educate foreign language as well. Mainly just some of the college programs require that of you before you can go in, and they don't have 3-year programs like I went to anymore. You need to have a baccalaureate degree to come in. So there are associate degree programs, but as far as I know, none of the services except associate degree nurses.
Okay.
You have to have a baccalaureate degree.
Ah.
I would suggest if you're going to go into, if you're interested in military, join the NROTC. Oh, not the NROTC. Well, I could say NROTC, but that's a Navy Reserve Officer Corps. Or go into ROTC, and it's Air Force. And they pay for part of your education, which is a way to go.
Did you know that? You were interested
I do
in
know
that?
that.
Yeah.
And I would really,
Okay.
I really would suggest that you apply for it.
So, like, you paid for your nursing school yourself and then joined the military?
I paid for, that's right. I paid for my 3 years. Yeah, but I became a nurse on my own dollar. When I got my bachelor's, the Navy paid for it.
Okay.
And I was already a lieutenant, so I got lieutenant's pay. So I was, and they paid for my tuition and part of my books and things like that. So it was a great way to go to school.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Like a lot of the schools that I'd want to go to, like ROTC would be the way because it's so expensive otherwise.
Yeah. And you just have a commitment afterwards.
Exactly.
You have to join.
Yeah.
You have to join the military. You have to go active duty afterwards.
How long? Do you know?
I know it's like 4 years if you're like or just like a normal job, but like if you go to med school, it's like 10 years.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
That's a lot.
Okay.
It goes by very fast.
That's true. Like my parents were saying, like you'd be trying to find a job, usually like a lower job for 4 years anyway. So why not? Like if it's getting paid for. So I think that and like I don't know, like getting a job like right out of college would be nice, especially in the military. So I'd be fine with it.
Let me ask you something, Madeline. Do you look back? You really ended up kind of expanding and doing more instead of not just like nursing and being on the floor and all that. You recruiting, and then I think at some point you end up in Hawaii, right? And just doing so many different various roles. Do you have any regrets? Or are you like, you know what? I'm really glad I just kept my life open to all of those different things. Can you give Therese some wisdom in that and saying, look, open your life up to those things?
That we really have opened up our world, not just by the bedside.
Yeah.
Looking at nursing as being much broader. Like there's lots of people now in computers, associated with healthcare.
Yeah.
And so, our world has expanded greatly, not just at the bedside. And I think one of the best things about the military is that they do prepare you for that. And so when you came out, you can do many things other than just taking care of somebody at the bedside.
Yeah.
So, and the world is sort of our oyster. Out there.
Yeah.
And so, and you do look at seeing all of the various things that you can do. Many people go into like nurse practitioner programs. They really encourage you to keep your education going, so getting your master's degree and in a particular area, or even PhD. So, and when I joined, the highest rank that a nurse could reach was captain, and there weren't that many.
Yeah.
And now you can be an admiral. We were basically nurses at the bedside We did supervising of nurses or corpsmen in the hospital. Now we are CEOs of hospitals. Wow. So,
Can I ask you what, if you can think about it maybe, what your, as a nurse overall, what your hardest day was? Can you remember a day where you were like, you know what? This was a hard day. I don't know. You may not have felt like quitting, but it was just a real hard nurse day.
one of the I said hardest in the sense that I dread it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily something happening. When I was in Hawaii, I was commanding officer of the clinic there.
Okay.
And during that period of time, the Gulf War started. And none of my staff should have gone to Kuwait. But all of a sudden, because of some other things, some of my staff wound up by going.
Wow.
And I dreaded the fact that if anything happened, I would have to notify their family that they had been killed. Fortunately, they all came home safely.
Yeah.
So, but that was probably my hardest moment, thinking, why did I ever take this job? I may have to tell somebody that their son or daughter has, son, they all were males, that your son has died. And that did not happen. So
Yeah. I can imagine.
I was very thankful.
There was a lot of anxiety over thinking that. Yeah. Now, I am going to give Therese a card. Take that. And a pen. My favorite pen. You got to give it back. One piece of advice that she's going to need through life. She's going to take this when she's 22, when she's 32, when she's 42. She's going to have this one thing that Madeline told her that she's going to have to remember. If you can have one piece of advice that she needs to know, what is it?
I think you mentioned it. I think one of the things that, like, as I said, I wanted to do, I had this one thing in mind. And Pediatrics. And for the most part, it really never really came to fulfillment in the full sense of the word. But I had a wonderful career, and I loved it, mainly because I was always flexible. Somebody said to me, I'm going to give you this job. I think you can do it. And so I took the job, and I did it as best I could. And I think every time you get even if you get a job that you don't want, or you don't think that this really fits you, do the best that you can in that job. And learn from it. Because you will glean little bits from that to apply to other jobs that you're going to get. And I think that's true, and I don't think it's true just in the military. I think that's probably true just in life.
Yeah.
There are lots of curveballs that are thrown to us, and we need to be able to be flexible enough to catch them and make the best out of them.
I love that. So it's like, okay, here's a job you're giving me. I don't like it, and I don't think it fits me, but I'm going to do the very best I can at it. And believe that there's some little thing that I can get out of it,
that.
Right? Until I move to the next thing. And ultimately, I mean, your life is a testament to it, right? I can glean enough things from all of these little things till I really put together a life well lived, right? Where you're like, okay, all of these things I may not have liked this little thing, but I grabbed things from it. I was flexible, and you look at the totality of it all, and it paints a really beautiful picture. I like that.
Me too.
Yeah. Any other questions for Madeline?
Where was like the favorite place you traveled, do you think?
One of the things I find is that sometimes the location is not necessarily the best. It's the people that are there and make the location. I probably had more fun in Okinawa, Japan, than any other place, mainly because of the people that were there, and we had a grand time. Yeah. So.
What made the people so, like, why'd you have such a great time there?
It was just a good family, and everybody got along. We had fun. We took advantage of the culture, and we all benefited from it.
Yeah.
We worked hard, but then we played hard.
Yeah.
And, we took advantage of all of the things that were there. Like they had recreation places that you could go to. You could travel from there to. I went to China from there.
Oh, wow.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
And said we worked hard and we played hard.
Yeah.
So,
I like that.
yeah.
You can write that down too.
Play hard and work hard.
Work hard, play hard. Yeah.
I guess I have one more question. Like, so I want to go to pediatrics because just like I love kids and like I work with kids. I'm a swim instructor, but some people say that like it's hard to like, it's like harder to see like kids suffering than like older people. So like, what would you say on that?
At times you do, but then the fact that you're helping them and their families really sort of makes it easier because you're trying to make it as help them recover. And so you're looking at yourself as being a real helper for them and not necessarily just looking at them suffering. And I guess you'd sort of take on some of their suffering a little bit with it too.
But I'm helping the sufferer.
But I'm helping them. I really am helping them. And keep looking at the fact that what I am doing is making it better for them. Or better for somebody who might follow on because of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Good. I hope you guys keep in touch as you continue to pursue this. That Madeline will maybe be able to help you on your journey because she has so much wisdom to give. Thank you, guys.
Thank
You're quite welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to Through the Eyes of Wisdom. And we'll see you, or you'll hear us, because you can't see us unless you're watching YouTube. And you can see us, and we'll wave. Everybody just wave somewhere.
Where?
Anywhere. Just like, okay.
Are you? Is this on YouTube?
I don't know.
Is it?
We'll see, hear, whatever next time.